All right, I'm just going to kind of ramble freely about the main topic that I tend to address in my practice that I have developed called mindful reality. And you can find other videos and recordings on this YouTube channel. There may only be one real video, but in any case, I think the key is to break it down to the pressure to do something. I think this is at the heart of what most of us suffer from in one capacity or another. Not everybody suffers in the same way. But in general, I think that we struggle with a feeling that there's something we should be doing that isn't the thing we're doing in a given moment. And whether or not we are aware of a goal that we are somehow not attending to, or there's just this general pressure and sensation that there's something missing, or there's something bubbling up in our mind, or a physical sensation of muscle tension that feels like there's something we should be addressing that somehow we're just not doing. And I have a very fine-tuned, specific way of looking at this, and I tend to separate the words doing and action for the purpose of realizing that we are always in an action by nature, because we are always physically in the space. And there's no way to not be physically in the space, and if you doubt this, you can just identify yourself as a skeleton, and you can touch your head and touch your shoulder bones and your knees and look at your feet and touch your belly and your chest, and you can just realize that, of course, you are always in the space physically, even though we tend to come in and out of awareness because we get lost in thought. And that's natural. One of my favorite analogies or tools lately is to just realize that no matter how distracted or lost in thought I might be in any given moment, if someone were to paint me, if someone were to make a painting of me in the space, like if there were a painter, an artist in the space doing a portrait, but a portrait of me in the room I'm in or the outdoors, if you were looking at yourself through that lens, you would know that you were always in the space, never disappearing. And this is the crux, I think, of so much of what I'm after in terms of using it myself and then trying to share it with others. And the point is that if you're always in the space, even though most of us are not aware of 90% of the time we are physically in the space, occupying space on some piece of furniture or standing directly on the ground or in a car or in a plane, because we're always there as a whole body. And I say whole body because if you're lost in thought, it feels like your head, structurally, your skull is not there on your spine with the rest of you, but it is. So as a whole body, because you're always in the space, we can call that by default an action. And the action is simply that you can make a sentence. I am talking into the recorder. I am sitting on the couch. Whatever it is, it's so simple. It's just a sentence, and you can add on to it if there's more than that, like I am, wearing a black shirt. I am looking at the wall. I mean, whatever it is, but the basic thing is always going to be that you're just on a piece of furniture, on some kind of physical surface that's taking your weight, and you are a whole body. And these are things that we're never going to be aware of on our own, unless we're tuning in. But the problem is that when we don't do this, we have nothing to counter the more subconscious habit of feeling like we're not here. And if we feel like we're not here physically where we are, then we are buying into a story, an inner narrative that's telling us somehow we are somewhere else, or we should be somewhere else, or we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. And I know in the beginning of this I said I don't really adhere to the word doing, but doing just means acting. So I just say the reason you can't do something that you believe you should be doing in any given moment is because your body's already in an action. It's busy in some other capacity. I repeat this over and over in my work, wherever you happen to get it, whether it's through a book or a blog post or a YouTube. But the point is that that's always the truth. And because of it, it's really the foundation of why each of us, including everybody else, can't be doing that thing we think we ourselves should be doing, or we think someone else should be doing. And this gets really tricky because then it's easy to feel like, well, I chose to do this and I could have done something else. But then there's that word choice. And even if you believe you chose it on some level, the truth is you can't find out what it is you chose until you see yourself doing it, in which case it's already over. So there's no way to get behind something in the way it's felt. And you can go around and around and around in circles, debating this kind of a thing. And obviously I am somebody who argues against choice or free will. But for the purpose of just narrowing it down for a more casual conversation, the pressure we walk around feeling that there is something to do that we're not doing, needs to be addressed in order to just feel like you're doing all you can be doing. And that's because there is no way to not be a skeleton. And I hate to use such a word that maybe people don't relate to, but there's no way to not be the physical body that exists in the space. That acting person and the acting body are one and the same. Even if you are a dualist and you somehow feel like there's a sense of you that isn't just your physical being, that thing that you're having a sense of is happening in your mind, which is still in the brain or somewhere, whatever you believe, inside the skin and the organism. And the organism is in the space. And there's really no way to deny that. And I think even if I didn't want to get into debates with people about these more hefty topics, you can't really debate that your body's not in the space, because you can touch it and you can see it. Even if you can't look at your head directly, you can actually touch it and you can see your nose. And if you're wearing glasses, you can see the glasses on your head. So you know that your head is there. And this kind of awareness, I did not come up with. This kind of awareness stems from my work as an Alexander technique practitioner, teacher. F.M. Alexander, for different purposes, spent his career educating people on an aspect of body awareness that, as its foundation, is based in an awareness that we are a whole body. Basically, that the head is always there. So I talk about that a lot. But it's not something that is fancy to learn. It's just somebody has to point it out to you. So if your head and the rest of your body are always in the space, never leaving, my work is wrapped around using that awareness and truth to define what I call action. And action is just really the sentence that we would make. I am talking into the phone. I am sitting on the couch. Even if it's that, I was just sitting somewhere having a thought. the point is that the body exists in the space all the time and it doesn't disappear. And it feels like we come and go. And because we don't come and go, we are stuck with where we are physically in any given moment. Because if I'm going to say a moment, I'm going to say a second. I know somewhere along the line, someone has defined a moment as 3 seconds. But in any case, so 3 seconds. So for those 3 seconds that we call a moment, you see where you are, but it's already over. And that is very much the thing that struck me when I first started getting into this writing and sharing this kind of awareness, is that there isn't a way to move your physical body out of the way it feels. I mean, it feels like we're not even there physically. It feels like we are just some entity in the mind that's sort of oozing out into the environment and making things happen or trying to make things happen. But all during that time of that thought process, the skeletal structure that includes the head that's attached to the spine and the torso or the rest of the body, there's no way to move it out of the way. And so there's a sentence to be made, which is just, I am, fill in the blank. I am eating dinner. I am cutting vegetables. I am driving a car. There is never a time when that action isn't happening. And I like to say in my work that the sole reason, the only reason we can't be doing what we believe we could or should be doing is because we're in that activity that we see. And by the time we notice it, by the time we become conscious of what it is we're doing, it's over. And again, you could go in circles, but I caused it, I made a decision. And that's fine if you feel that way. You don't have to buy into that part of my work that doesn't see things that way. But then you made that choice and in some way, and it's already over. And so I think what I'm really saying is that what you're seeing that we're calling the present moment, what we're seeing our body doing in what we call the present moment is really the past. And there are scientists and philosophers who talk about this issue in a different vein, just that the speed of light is too slow, or consciousness is too slow, or, again, what we're seeing that we're calling the present is really the past. In any case, I'm going to leave it at the main point here is that the sole reason we can't be doing what we believe we should be doing in any given moment is because our body is always busy in another capacity, and it's already over. So even if you adhere to the idea that you chose whatever that action is, it's already over. And so now you're on to the next one and the next one and the next one, which is always just what you're seeing now, because it's the next second all the time, and there's no way to get behind it. So I'm going to leave you with that today, to just play with the awareness of understanding that the reason you can't be doing something else in this given moment, whenever it is you happen to tune into yourself, is because you're already busy doing something else. And that is what you have to be doing. It's over, so that's the good news. If you didn't like it, it's over. But it's what you had or have to be doing because it's what you see in the space, and that's the most that we can call something being real. And even if you believe you chose it, then it's still something you're stuck with. Okay, until next time, thanks for tuning in.